Titanic is responsible for exposing me to what is very likely my first experience with the phenomena of backlash towards something popular. Though I was just 11 when the film first released back in 1997 and had very little interest in actually seeing this 3-hour epic romance, I distinctly remember getting caught up with the other guys in my class who took great joy in teasing the girls who had begun bragging that they had seen the movie multiple times and memorized every moment. I even remember writing a sort of anti-fanfic of the film that I read in front of my 5th grade class for an English writing assignment wherein I was transported into the setting of the film and took the place of Jack and Rose at the end of the ship as it was sinking, thus dooming them both to a watery grave. There was also probably some destruction of a certain famous drawing from the film and the theft of the giant blue diamond. I hadn't even seen the film at that point, but I had heard so much about it. I basically knew all the plot points and buttons to press that would set off the girls' tempers and win the favor of the guys. It wasn't until I spent the night home alone and had borrowed the movie from a family next door who I babysat for some time after the film's 2 cassette VHS release that I finally sat down and watched Titanic in its entirety. Imagine my surprise when I actually managed to enjoy the film. In fact, I enjoyed it so much, I actually ended up borrowing the film multiple times from my family's neighbors alongside their copies of the Star Wars films, thus also exposing me to those films for the first time. Being an honest guy, I even managed to make a 180 and defend the film alongside the girls. After all, the romance wasn't so bad, the historical aspect was pretty interesting, and all that destruction in the latter half was really quite exciting, right? Well, they weren't exactly having any of it, and, ultimately, I not only got teased by the other guys for liking a girl movie, but also got teased by the girls for, well, pretty much the same thing. And here I am, 15 years later and still defending the film against those who completely dismiss it based solely on the fact that, yes, it was indeed overhyped Hollywood schmaltz at its heart. But, damn it, it was fine entertainment, all the same, and I still kind of find myself tempted to buy the Blu-ray every time it reaches the $15 mark, as I feel it's just one of those things that I need to have in my collection as an amateur film critic. Alas, the stigma, and expense compared to other more desirable/necessary things, continues to dog me, and I settled for having the film delivered to me by Netflix. Heck, I didn't even go see it in 3D re-release last year, despite really kind of wanting to. It isn't that Titanic is the greatest film of all time, or anything, though. It's certainly one of the most overrated films you'll see if you're one to compare quality to popularity, but if you can enjoy a reasonably engaging romance story mixed with some Hollywood special effects and are able to sit still for quite a while, you're probably going to enjoy Titanic just fine if you just give in to it. Sure, it was just an excuse for James Cameron to have a studio fund a voyage down to the depths of the ocean, where actual footage of the wreckage was captured for use in the actual film, but of all the directors out there who could do well by the promise of delivering something worth watching in spite of this, it was James Cameron, a notorious perfectionist and someone who knows a thing or two about making the studio system work in harmony with an artistic vision, even though this usually meant that he was being a tyrant on the actual set. Told in flashback by an elderly woman, Rose, played by Gloria Stewart, who recognizes on the news a drawing of herself when she was a young girl aboard the doomed ship. The meat of Titanic's story deals with her forbidden romance with a young man from steerage named Jack Dawson, won his place on the ship in a risky card game. And while we are led to believe the two were meant for one another, Rose was already the fiancée copyrightee of Cal Hockley, a smug man several years her senior who happens to be the heir to a considerably successful steel enterprise. Rose was not happy with these arrangements, naturally, and considered ending it all by tossing herself over the edge of the ship and into a watery grave, that is, until she meets Jack, who coaxes her from the edge and convinces her that life is still worth living, even when all hope seems to be lost. From this point on, the film is basically watching the two young people fall in love, despite the ugly facts about the differences between their respective social and financial standings and the people who would use them to keep the two apart, not to mention the fact that Cal constantly keeps tabs on the two out of understandable jealousy. There's also something about a giant blue diamond that is, quite honestly, ultimately inconsequential to the plot, no matter what it may represent. It's basically an excuse to have the story be told as an unnecessary flashback framing device within a deep-sea submarine, i.e. James Cameron's excuse for dabbling in his non-directing passion by going on his undersea voyage and having poor Gloria Stewart deliver trite old lady dialogue like this. A woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. But now you know there was a man named Jack Dawson and that he saved me in